Alright everyone, today's video is called Don't Have a Bad Character, and it's going to be a guide for player characters who are not that good at making a character and don't really understand what it is when I'm saying all these videos. It's going to be a guide on how to not have that problem. So this is going to be about how to make a very versatile character that fits in a lot of games, and it's going to be a Warforged that I use. His name is Nemodius, alright? So Nemodius is from the town of Nightvale, and in Nightvale there is a wizard, a grand wizard with NPC levels of magic, and what that means is he has very high level magic that player characters don't normally have access to. So in Nightvale, there's a wizard, let's say his name is Magnus, okay? And I'm making this up on the spot just to show you guys how simple it is. So Magnus was my master, and I was created by him, and we had a really good relationship for a lot of years. I had some of the servant friends, some of the other servants were my friends. So Alfred was the butler. I was kind of a bodyguard assistant type, a protective warforged with training in things like calligraphy and special languages and that sort of thing. And let's say my integrated tool is a calligrapher's pen. All these bugs around here. And also, I embarrassed myself earlier. That is not a pull-up bar. That is a rope. Just from my point of view, it looked like a pull-up bar because I just saw it in my reflection. There's a lot of bugs out here, so if I swat one of those, I'm sorry. But back to what's important. My Warforged Nemodius lives in Nightvale. He serves a wizard whose name is Magnus, and some of the other servants are a man named Ravengloom. So he's a dark elf. He is the head chef, and me and Raven talk a lot. We have a pretty good relationship. One of the other servants I know is Alfred, the head butler, but I don't like Alfred because he's pretty pompous. So those are just some of the NPCs I know. I've got an enemy and I've got a friend, right? Raven is my friend. Alfred is kind of a loose enemy, right? Maybe a greater enemy could be some of those of the wizard that I serve, and I think a good part of this character's ethos is he's very dutiful, he's very loyal, and he's very unquestioning of the wizard. He puts him up on a pedestal, I would say, quite a bit. So you've also got to figure out character ethos when you're working on the backstory. It's more than just having functional backstory. You also have to work out the character ethos, because if I have this perfect functional backstory but I have no character ethos, it's like I put the cart before the horse. You need character ethos first. You need to know who your character is before you know what they've done, if that makes any sense. So we covered some things, right? We're from the town of Nightvale, which I just made up now. The wizard's name is Magnus. Ravengloom is the chef who I'm very close friends with, and I don't like the butler because he's pretty arrogant and he thinks he's a superior kind of guy, like a holier than thou. Not really a holier than thou though, just kind of like a wealthier than thou type. So some of the wizard's enemies are Brom the Bold, a fighter who claimed that he could kill the wizard in martial combat because they had been allies a long time ago and they had some kind of falling out, right? So there's one of my bigger enemies is Brom and his followers, because he's a martial type and he has a stronghold with 200 people in his little army, and I dislike Brom quite a bit, and he threatens the wizard extensively. So that's kind of one of my bigger goals is to destroy Brom. So now I've given myself a goal, an enemy. I've given myself some friends, a lesser enemy. I've figured out some of the character ethos. He's a very loyal servant and unquestioning of the wizard. So some more things. In the town, I once saved little Timmy from the well by climbing down using my incredible strength. I once won a strongman contest on accident. I was just trying to be helpful, and I lifted one of the weights, and I won the contest. And it was a pretty big deal, and the wizard got some money for that, and I got put on display, and it was a nice event. A failure of mine. I failed to deliver a letter on time, and that caused the wizard to lose a significant business partner, and I've never really got over that. And now one big thing about me is I really like to be punctual a lot, and if I'm not, I get pretty stressed out. And I've got a clock embedded in me now. That's part of it, right? After that event, the wizard embedded a clock in me, and now I've got a really good sense of time. And it was kind of like a punishment almost. And maybe there's a sadistic side to the wizard that I'm kind of blind to. I don't know, right? That's for the DM to decide. So some more hooks to pull the guy. So hooks, of course, are things that the DM uses to push and pull you and hurt his cats. So let's say one of my hooks is I want to find Brom. That's the biggest hook that he's leading me around. I want to find and destroy Brom. Another one is I like cooks a lot. So if there's ever a tavern, I like to talk to the cook, and the DM can pick up on that, and he can throw in some hooks with the cooks. Little rhyme there, I like that. Another one is strongman competitions. He could have another strongman competition. I could win on purpose. I could win on accident. It doesn't matter. But you know, it's a nice backstory callback. Probably not a huge hook to pull me by, but it's something that's there. And the more things there are for the DM to use, the easier it is for the DM to move the players around without railroading them. Because remember, guys, the DM has to move you around, and it feels better if he doesn't railroad you. So, gotta play along, and when you make your character, give them plenty of hooks. Okay. Now, another thing about this character. Whenever I play him, he has amnesia. He doesn't have to have amnesia when you play him. When I play him, he has memory banks, and he's a Warforged, but he's got more of a robot theme than a lot of Warforged do, because that's what I like for the character. So, whenever I play him, his memory banks are highly damaged, and he doesn't remember the wizard very much. So that's kind of what he's going for, and that is super good for the DMs. Something like that where they have damaged memory banks, and they're looking for something. They've got a clear goal, but they've got damaged memory banks. As long as you know the character ethos and all those things I mentioned before, my passion for cooks, not passion for cooks, but my affinity for cooks, my dislike of butlers, all those things. I could play those as the robot's subconscious kind of coming up, and all those are things that the DM can use to pull me along, and it works even better because of my damaged memory banks, right? So all these things are hooks that you want to have. That's really what the functional backstory is for, is making hooks that the DM can use to pull you and push you as he needs, right? Another one, let's think of one more. A failure, of course, because we already did a failure. Let's see, we've done 2 successes, 1 failure. We've got some NPCs, some affinities, a location. Okay, so we're from Nightvale, right? But let's say that Nightlog Forest is right next to Nightvale. I know we're using the word night, and I'm sorry about that. Let's say Darklog. Darklog Forest is right next to us. And I remember coming out of the forest. Well, see, the problem with that is it's a grounded hook, and if it's within your DM's campaign setting, fine, that's perfect. If it's a location already there, that's wonderful. But if you're using this and you haven't had a campaign setting from the DM yet, you're going to want to steer clear of named hooks, because that's going to be a little bit more for them to implement. They can usually work with it. Something as simple as a forest they can work with, but let's just call it the nearby forest, which could be Nightlock if your DM allows it. But in Nightlog Forest, there was a group of hags, and the wizard went there to kind of deal with them, and I went with him, and it ended up becoming a huge conflict, which was predictable, but you know, we were hoping it didn't, and we were going there to negotiate, and I ended up killing some of them, and then I became known as a hag slayer, right? And so now my character has a huge hatred of hags, because that was one of the big times that he had to be a bodyguard for the wizard, was when we fought those hags, and let's say they were the aggressor. So now he distrusts hags quite a bit, and all kind of evil fey creatures he's got a hatred for. So the more things like this you put in there, the more hooks your DM can pull and push you with. And remember, have a failure, have some weaknesses, and don't be a Mary Sue. No one likes those. Okay, but that's a quick guide on how to make a functional backstory, and it's personalized to a character, so you'll be able to get a better feel of everything that I'm saying when I mention it. And you know, I made most of that up on the spot. I made most of that up on the spot. So you know, it's not that hard to do, as you can see. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so I'm sure you can do it too, players. I'm 100% certain all you players, given a little bit more time and talk and talking a little bit slower than I am. Sorry guys, I get excited sometimes and I talk very fast, but or it feels fast to me. It's probably not that fast. But what I'm saying is, players, if you are in an environment where you can slow down and think and take notes, you can make a good functional backstory. Now that you've seen me do it in just one take, I just kind of made all this come out of my head just now. I'm sure you can do it, and it's going to enrich your game, and we're all about having more fun here, right? And when you have these things, it makes it a lot easier for the DM to hurt you around left and right where he needs you to go. But another big thing is the mystery, right, and the unsolved elements. So I'm still looking for Braum, right? That's an unsolved element, and I'm still looking for the wizard. So that's 2 unsolved elements, and I need my memory banks restored. So those are 3 elements that the DM can put into the game. And I use Dungeons of Drakkenheim as an example a lot, but Veosinia, her father was missing, and they implemented that into the game, and that came from her background and shaped a lot of her ethos. And when they finally found out what happened, it was a huge moment. I don't want to give spoilers because it's a really good show. You guys should check it out. It's called Dungeons of Drakkenheim. But when you give your DMs mysteries or unresolved things, they can put that into the game, and it just enriches it quite a bit. It just makes it a lot better, right? That kind of thing makes it a lot better. And we're all about having more fun here. So that's why you want to put put this kind of thing in there to have more fun. And that's a guide on a functional backstory. So a pro tip before I go: don't just go with the amnesia route. I know I used that in this one, but this is a specific example and it works well in this one. Don't just go with amnesia, because your DM's not going to like it. Don't go for my parents are dead, I'm an orphan. Don't go for I have no brothers and sisters, because those are big red flags, and your DM's just not going to like it unless he's played with you a lot before, in which case he'll probably trust you. But don't lead with my character has amnesia. Give him all the other stuff first, and maybe if your character does have amnesia during the game, you can here's a really advanced move. If your character doesn't have amnesia, come to the game with no backstory, talk to him, and just as you play, he can make a backstory with you, and you can uncover some things. And like I said, how my affinity for cooks might represent as a subconscious little piece of my memory left. You could do that kind of thing, and you can make it up during the game, and that could be a lot of fun. But don't just lead with my character has amnesia unless your DMs knows you a lot. Try and have characters with functioning memory and parents and that sort of thing before you start with just amnesia, because that's a big red flag if you do. But anyways, goodbye, good luck, and have fun in your games.